When we think about a cornerstone of democracy, judicial independence is, without question, paramount. The judiciary was established to act as a neutral arbiter, designed to check the powers of other government branches and ensure justice under the law. But how has this independence evolved, and why is it under increasing scrutiny today? Let's take a moment to explore. The Alien Enemies Act, a law dating back to 1798, has long been a symbol of the judiciary's role in balancing governmental power against individual rights. Over the years, its rare usage highlights precisely why we need an impartial judicial branch. You might remember it from history lessons about its wartime applications, but more recently, it reemerged in legal discourse when judges were asked to assess its limits. And so here, in this intersection of historical statutes and modern applications, is where we find Judge James Boasberg. Judge Boasberg is, for lack of a better phrase, a fascinating figure in today's legal world. Appointed by President George W. Bush and nominated by President Barack Obama to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, he's tackled an impressive array of cases, from immigration disputes to antitrust allegations against major players like Meta. His rulings not only reveal meticulous care for the law, but also show a deeper understanding of their societal impact. One striking example is his decision to uphold the testimony of former Vice President Mike Pence regarding events surrounding the 2020 elections. The implications of that ruling alone demand we consider the weight and courage these judges often bear. But beyond the rulings, let's talk about the man himself, a judge whose booming baritone resonates as much in the courtroom as his writings do on paper. What stands out to me, and honestly makes me grin, is how he infuses humor and pop culture into his opinions. In one ruling dismissing a lawsuit tied to the January 6th attack, he humorously quoted Star Trek, noting, "Resistance is futile." That small yet impactful touch reminds us that behind the robes are individuals committed to the rule of law, all while carrying their unique humanity into their work. And of course, there's the question of legacy. Judges like Boasberg don't operate in silos. Their decisions, even the more technical ones like those assessing corporate mergers, ripple beyond the courtroom walls, shaping the nuances of future debates. His role in overseeing high-profile cases connected to national security reinforces why judicial independence must remain non-negotiable. So, let's remember, a fair judiciary isn't just a luxury we enjoy when times are calm. It is the very lifeline that protects our democratic framework, ensuring each branch remains accountable, no matter who's in office. You know, it's one thing to disagree with a ruling, but calling for a judge's impeachment is a whole other story. What we've been witnessing lately, particularly with Judge James Boasberg, is something that should give us all pause. After blocking deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, a law that hasn't been seriously invoked since World War II, Judge Boasberg has found himself in the crosshairs of President Trump and Musk's rhetoric. And what's been striking is the weight of Trump's words, calling the judge a radical left lunatic and demanding his impeachment. It's intense, to say the least, but let's unpack why this is critical. Play this clip.
Members who have endorsed this impeachment thing. Now remember, Chief Justice John Roberts delivered a rare rebuke of these efforts, and the judge in question is hardly a radical leftist. James Boasberg made his name as a homicide prosecutor. He got his first job on the bench from George W. Bush. The Senate unanimously approved his promotion by Barack Obama in 2011. He ruled in favor of conservative groups in their fight over Hillary Clinton's emails. He rejected an effort by one group to get Trump's tax records. But none of that matters to Musk and Trump, who have baselessly claimed that this is a judicial coup. And if you disagree, your job is on the line, according to one Republican senator at least.
It may be that Elon Musk has decided he's going to take the next $1 billion that he makes off of Starlink and put it directly against Lisa Murkowski. That's why you've got everybody just like zip-lip, not saying a word, because they're afraid they're going to be taken down, they're going to be primaried, they're going to be given names in the media. You know what? We cannot be cowed into not speaking up.
Joining us in our fifth seat, criminal defense and trial attorney Stacey Schneider. We'll get to you on the legal stuff in just a second, but Angela, what's your take on the fear factor? How much of this do you think is truly just the fear of the sheer amount of money that Elon can put behind any of these races if he just wants to?
Well, I want to point out first that this, again, goes to the heart of the issues with this administration. This is a violation of the law. 18 U.S.C. Section 201 of the United States Code talks about bribery or illegal gratuity. And when you, whether the intention exists or not, if you pay someone or you give someone something of value for an official act, that is illegal. You cannot do that. So he is violating the law. 3 of the members that he maxed out to, as we call it on the Hill, give the maximum contribution to, have already introduced impeachment articles for 3 judges that went afoul of the rules that Donald Trump is trying to get everyone to abide by. We are in the heart of a constitutional crisis. So of course people are afraid. If all he has to do is remove a judge because he has control of the House and the Senate, removes the judge, impeaches the judge and removes them, appoints someone else, all who are willing to do his handiwork, therein lies a constitutional
So just
crisis.
one thing, here are the 7 Republicans that he gave to: Boebert, Crane, Clyde, Brandon Gill, who has introduced the articles of impeachment, Ogles, Orden, and Grassley. But Stacey, first of all, I'm curious what you think about what Angela just said, but also, I mean, the Chief Justice seemed to very clearly just be saying, this is not a thing. You are not going to impeach judges just because you don't like how they rule. What part of that doesn't Elon Musk and others understand?
First of all, I don't think we've ever seen a Supreme Court justice come out and make a statement about the behavior of the White House. And Justice Roberts used the word inappropriate. Going after judges because you don't like their rulings is inappropriate. You have an appeals process to do that. Now, I'm not saying Elon Musk, I don't agree that Elon Musk is breaking the law by getting involved in this and donating to these candidates or donating to these House Republicans, because he's going to donate the maximum that he's allowed to. He's not going over that. And he's voicing his opinion and his First Amendment right about what's important to him. But why is this important to him? Why is he out of his lane on this one? He's already dismantling the government, and now he's going to use his wallet to dismantle the judiciary. Why is he involved in this? It's insulting. As an attorney, I mean, we all take oaths. Judges take oaths. Attorneys take oaths. We are supposed to be fair. We are not supposed to break the law. A judge making a decision about pushing back on President Trump's deportation policy, perfectly legal, appropriate. And the judge is not stopping Trump. He's saying, wait a minute, you're not following procedure. There's deportation procedures. You're making up the law. And what Trump just did was, when he deported the migrants who he claimed were from Venezuela and they were gang members, he was invoking a law that it's never really talked about from 1798, the Alien Enemy Law, which is invoked when we're at war. And as far as I know, we're not at war with Venezuela, where he should be able to use that law to carry out his immigration policies. So the judge is just putting a brake on that and saying, if the president wants to carry out a policy, follow the immigration law.
Let's hash it out.
First, let's talk judicial independence. Chief Justice John Roberts, in a rare public statement, reminded us that impeachment isn't a tool for disagreeing with judicial outcomes. It's designed for gross misconduct or corruption, not as a political weapon. Yet, here we are, with figures like Representative Brandon Gill rallying behind Trump, escalating this already fraught situation. Let's be clear. Successful judicial impeachments are exceedingly rare. They require not only evidence of wrongdoing, but also a consensus that is nearly impossible to achieve in today's polarized climate. The threat here is not that Boasberg will actually be removed. It's the precedent this situation risks setting. And of course, the responses are as divided as you'd expect. Some Republican lawmakers are echoing Roberts' stance, emphasizing the importance of appealing decisions through proper channels instead of undermining judicial authority. But others, like Representative Gill, are doubling down, filing articles of impeachment and accusing judges of political bias. May I also add a quite interesting fact? Representative Brandon Gill is one of 7 Republicans who received monetary endorsements by Elon Musk to pursue impeachment of Judge James Boasberg. It's this tug of war, this constant clash between the rule of law and political narratives that deeply concerns me. When will these billionaires learn that their wealth does not place them above the law? The United States was built upon the backs of the middle class. The middle class does have tremendous power and a voice. Have billionaires like Elon Musk not learned that the middle class could hit you in the only way that you understand, which is your pocket? Is Elon Musk not aware that Tesla stocks have dropped by half, causing him to lose over $130 billion? Is he not aware of the nationwide ongoing boycotts of his Tesla dealerships? These nationwide protests are a grassroots initiative. These protesters are not being paid by the Democrats. Musk should be worried about answering to his shareholders. I guess Elon will need to lose another $130 billion before he wakes up, because behind these headlines and fiery tweets is something more fundamental: the stability of the very system designed to balance power and protect our rights. Now, stepping back a bit, one has to wonder, what does this say about where we're headed? Judicial independence exists for a reason. It's what enables our courts to act without influence or fear, to interpret laws based on the Constitution rather than the whims of a single administration. And yet, the louder these calls for impeachment grow, the further we drift from that ideal. It's worth asking, how do we preserve this balance when those at the helm of power are so steadfastly opposed to it? A constitutional crisis. We hear this phrase thrown around often, but what does it truly mean in moments like the one we're living through now? Well, to put it plainly, it's about the erosion of checks and balances, the system of separation that protects us from authoritarian overreach. And today, that system is in jeopardy. I want to dive into what many experts, including the brilliant Elie Mystal, are calling a current and active crisis, not a hypothetical one for some distant future. What strikes me, and let's pause to think about this together, is the direct defiance of our judicial system. When courts issue rulings, like Judge Boasberg ordering deportation flights to be halted, there's an expectation of adherence. That adherence isn't a courtesy, it's the law. Yet here we are, witnessing a president and his administration openly ignore those rulings. It's not subtle, it's brazen. And what does that signal? To many of us, including Mystal, it signals the unraveling of the rule of law. When one branch begins to operate with impunity, when it thumbs its nose at the judiciary, the danger isn't theoretical. It's tangible. It's here. It impacts lives right now. You know, as I reflect on this, I can't help but think back to some of my own activism work. There was this one time, not too long ago, when I was invited to speak at a rally advocating for judicial fairness. It wasn't about a specific case, but about the principle of protecting the courts from undue influence. I remember standing there, looking out at faces filled with passion, everyone uniquely motivated to ensure that no one, not even or especially the president, could manipulate the legal system in ways that diminish its integrity. That day, we weren't standing for one side or the other. We were standing for balance, fairness, and accountability. It's proof that deep down, people understand what's at stake when we talk about crises like these. They get it, but then there's the flip side, the challenge of mobilizing against forces that seem so much larger than ourselves. The calls for Judge Boasberg's impeachment, driven by partisan interests and amplified by figures like Representative Brandon Gill, are part of a broader erosion of trust in our judiciary. These actions aren't just about one man or one court. They set dangerous precedents. They send a chilling message to every judge who dares to rule against the tides of executive power. Step carefully, because retribution may be swift and personal. And yet, if there's a silver lining, it's this: the judiciary's independence isn't something to be given up easily. For every attack on its authority, there's an equal an opposite force pushing back. People standing in defense of a democratic system that isn't perfect, but that offers more than any one leader's whims ever could. And this gives me hope. Because ultimately, the strength of democracy isn't in its infallibility, but in its resilience. The ability to endure challenge after challenge because its core values, fairness, accountability, balance, are worth fighting for. So here's where I land. Navigating a constitutional crisis isn't just a challenge for judges or lawmakers. It's a call to all of us, a call to care, to be vigilant, to challenge overreach wherever we see it. Because as we've seen, democracy doesn't crumble in big, catastrophic moments. It weakens in the silences, in our failure to respond when the small things start to chip away at the foundation. Let's not be silent. That wraps up today's episode of The Real 411. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for tuning in and for your continued support. It means more than you know. If you found value in today's discussion, please drop a comment. Follow us on all social media platforms and let us know what topics you'd like to see us cover next. Be sure to sign up for our email newsletter so you never miss an update or exclusive insight. And if you believe in independent media that digs deeper and dares to tell the truth, please consider following The Real 411 on Substack and Fanbase. We offer both free and paid subscriptions, and your support helps us continue producing content that informs, empowers, and sparks real conversation. Thanks again for being part of this journey, because remember, the story is never just the headline. Until next time, stay informed, stay bold, and stay real.